If you're working along on a computer, let's go ahead and open up a file called practice numbers. This is what the practice numbers file looks like. We have two sheets, sheet 1 and sheet 2, and they have slightly different numbers on them. The first thing I'm going to show you is how we can resize columns and rows. It's not common to resize rows, but it is quite common to resize columns. To resize columns, we can go up here. You notice that if I go between B and C, the cursor changes from a down arrow to sort of this left-right bar there. So if I left click on there and I go left and right, that's how I can change the size or width of that column. A lot of times you'll want to resize your column based upon what data you have. The default, by the way, is 8.47. So that's one way. Another way we can do this is I can click on any cell. So for example, if I want to click on B3 and I want to make that bigger, you can go up here on the Home tab in the Cells grouping here, and you can do Format, and we can do Column Width, and then you can manually put in something. So let's say I wanted that to be 20, and I press Enter. So it resizes that entire column. I'm going to go ahead and press Control Z to get back to what I had previously. That's how you can resize columns. If you wanted to, you can resize rows by doing the same thing, dragging up and down, or going up here to Format Row Height. To auto-fit cells to their contents, you can go up here and you can double-click on the border, and that automatically sizes that column. I'm going to do Control Z or Undo to get it back to where we were. If you want to do multiple columns at the same time, you can highlight all of those, and then just on one of the cell borders, you can double-click, and it resizes those to fit their contents. Now, a lot of times I just like to keep it the default width unless I have really long labels or if I'm doing something unique. Sometimes you will want to add or insert a column. If that's the case, if you want to add an entire row, you can go over here to the left bar here and you can right click on the number 4, and now we're going to insert a row above the selected row. So I do that, and it shifts those cells down and it squeezed in an entire new row. I'm going to go ahead and do Control Z, that's undo, or you can go up here to the upper left and click this button. If you wanted to insert a cell just in column C, you can click on that 10 and I can right click Insert, and it's going to ask us, do you want to insert by shifting the cells down or to the right? So that means the pre-existing cells down or to the right. So I'm going to go ahead and select down in this case. So it inserted an entire new cell right there. It didn't insert an entire row, just one cell, and it shifted those two cells down. Let's go ahead and undo, Control Z. Let me show you what happens if you right click and you do insert, but now you shift cells to the right. That's going to take the 10 and the 13 and shift them to the right, and it's going to squeeze in a brand new cell there. And it doesn't do anything to the rest of the spreadsheet, but it shifts everything in row 4 over 1. So that's what insert does. Let's go ahead and do Control Z. Let me show you what delete does. If you wanted to delete an entire row, let's say I wanted to delete the second row of my array there, I can right click on row 3 and I can do delete, and it deletes the entire row. Control Z to get us back to where we were. If you want to delete a cell and shift everything up or down or left or right, you can click on that cell, right click, delete, and it asks us, do you want to delete by shifting cells up, left, or do you want to delete the entire row or the entire column? I'm going to go ahead and shift cells up. So when I click that, it deleted the 18 and everything else on the spreadsheet in column C went up one cell. So that's how you can insert and delete. You can also insert multiple rows by highlighting, for example, 3 rows over here. So I left click and drag down to the 6th row. Excel recognizes that I have 3 rows I want to insert, and then I just right click insert and it inserts 3 at once. Control Z. You can do all of that with columns too, so I could insert 1 column there, Control Z. You can insert 2 columns by highlighting first 2 columns and then insert from the menu when I right click, and that's how you can insert columns. By the way, You can also insert and delete rows and columns by going up here on the Home tab in the Cells grouping here. And you can insert cells, you can insert columns, and so on. Let me show you a couple more things related to moving data around. Let's go over to sheet 2. If you wanted to consolidate data, maybe we can highlight that selection, and then I can do Control C, or I can right click copy. A couple ways to do that. And then I can go back to sheet 1 and I can click here and I can do Control Paste. You'll learn more about this in a follow-up screencast. But that's how you can sort of consolidate information from one sheet to another. Finally, let me show you how you can move entire sheets from one workbook to another. So this workbook is named practicenumbers.xlsx. Let's go ahead and I'm going to insert a new one, a blank workbook. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here to the practice numbers file, and you can do that by selecting from the bottom of your screen. You can select the various files, and I'm going to go ahead and transfer the entire sheet 2 to that new file. And the way to do that, we can right click on sheet 2 and I can do move or copy. Move means you're moving that entire sheet. It's basically like a cut and paste. Copy, so we can select copy by create a copy. We're going to move the selected sheet. So I'm going to select sheet 2 and I'm going to move that to my new book. I haven't yet saved book 3, but that's what it's called. I'm going to select move to the end. So it's going to move sheet 2 because I right clicked on that to open up this box. It's going to move it to the workbook book 3, and it's going to add it to the end of book 3. And I click OK. Now I'm in book 3, and I've copied that entire sheet to this workbook. So hopefully this screencast gave you a much better idea of how to work with worksheets, cells, rows, and columns. Thanks for watching.